but it has the potential to do really well.
I think that this is where you're really going to see the pros with
Yeah,
artificial intelligence step out.
but more focus on building the relationships with local people through the podcast.
The stories of people are what the public is interested in.
When it comes the right time, you then funnel them to the right thing. I can talk myself either way on that one. Finding the right angle that resonates with people in your area. That one I like. I love this idea, and I think there's a ton of potential around it.
This is the human in the loop at a really high level. Welcome to the Leads Are Shit. This is a real estate magazine podcast with myself and Andrew Foliato. Andrew
Thanks for
Foliato is the owner of Real Estate Magazine, as well as the founder of Just Sell Homes, a real estate marketing company so agents can just sell homes. My name is Taylor. I am a real estate team leader in Edmonton for Hack & Co. at Remax River City, and we are the highest rated and reviewed real estate team in the greater Edmonton area. Today, we're talking about a series of things. We're going to kind of wander a little bit. One of the things that's kind of been bouncing up on the last few podcasts was this idea of call the house.
yeah, which I love. So, for a quick recap for people who don't know, basically the idea we're talking about is putting like a phone number in front of the house on the sign. They can call, and then it's an AI. Hello, AIs. It's an AI that will talk as if it's the house and give you the information that you got from it, right? So it's like this super simple thing where they can talk, and that can also give them the information needed about the home and collect their information in a little less threatening manner. And has a lot of potential. But one of the ideas I got right before this, which I want to bring up, is we can use it in other venues too. So like the main idea here is like someone's driving by, talk to the house. Great. But there's a type of Facebook ad, which we've tested it a little bit, and when it's to an actual person, it's been mixed results. But what if we did click to call the house from a Facebook ad? Because it can, when they click, and go straight to a phone number, and it's 24/7 available to answer them. I
Yeah,
think
this
it's
is
got
like the
potential.
remember when you were talking about instead of speed up the baggage, you change the route
Yeah.
through the airport?
Yeah.
Yeah, so when we go to the movies, let's say that we go to a Tom Cruise movie, we agree and give consent on the way in that Tom Cruise isn't going to be acting like he's Tom Cruise, right? He's going to be representing himself as someone else. However, if a weird circumstance happened where we ran into Tom Cruise in person and he was telling us he's not Tom Cruise, he's someone else, that would be not consent, right? So in this case, when somebody has this expectation that they're going to talk to a human or that they can call to get more information and they just have an assumption that it's going to be a human,
Yeah.
that would then make it a letdown at some level, right? Whereas by doing this and adding in this like novelty, that would be that's the change. That's the consent that might open this door.
Yeah. Yeah, like you lead with the fact that they're doing it, and you're very upfront that it's AI. And I think it's got a lot of potential. Like we obviously it's one of those things that'll only be proven by the results,
Yeah.
but it has the potential to do really well. So I think what we should do, and I'll intro you to the guy, we should get him to build it. We test it out, and then we go from there.
Mhm.
Because he is very open to doing that. I
Okay.
th I think we should, if we can get that test going in a few places, because like that's also a really quick way to test it, is running ads to it. Then we can get it on a couple of listings, stuff like that. Now I
Creating an
wonder,
AI that's good is challenging, but it's not necessarily about good. What I'm thinking about is if you were to call somebody, like call the house, it might be able to, it would almost need to be able to tell you about itself in contrast to what's normal. Like it would need context.
yeah, you'd have to upload the details about the listing to
But
that
not just
one.
the details about the listing. I think that this is where you're really going to see the pros with
Yeah,
artificial intelligence step out is because what they're going to do is they're going to talk about this house having a group of friends, like its peers, right? For example, if you called me and I was the house that I just sold, I would be able to tell you that like, man, I'm in this neighborhood called Otwell, and
Yeah.
most of my friends are a little bit smaller than me. I've got this sunroom on the back that they all say like, oh, there
Yeah.
goes 5403 with its badonkadonk. Like
So
whatever
yeah,
they
so you
do.
gotta lead some of that into it. So you need like two parts, right? Like you'd have, did my sound just change? Oh, it's because my phone started ringing. It changed all the noise for me. Well, that's
Yeah,
weird.
I think we got a little bit of that through.
Yeah, that was odd. Now it's like super echoing in my head, but now we're back to normal. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and airplane my phone so that doesn't happen again. Um, so yeah, like you'd have to have two levels of it. Like you'd have level one, which is just anyone can use. That just has like the basic details of the property. Then you have like a pro version for extra customization that you could come in and do it. But now I'm also thinking like, what if you could put the phone number somewhere on realtor.ca? What if there would be a way? Because then it's not that they're called
No,
to
no,
action.
I could build that for sure. Like, because you can do a URL to anywhere, right? So you could say like virtual brochure. Nobody has to leave AI out of virtual brochures.
Let's like,
So I
but
think
what if
call the house would be like a stellar virtual brochure
and what about
or
like
chat with the house.
what if the second photo is call this house and talk to it?
I don't actually I think the restriction would be about calls to action in the photos.
That's where you have to read the wording because it might be called to action to reach out to you,
Oh, that's pretty good.
right?
Yep, I like it. I'm also wondering if you like you brand it like call the house because the
Yeah,
things that you can when you see things that technically are some type of a call to action or a representation, you see those in photos sometimes. Like in some markets, you see warranties
yeah,
as a sticker on top of the photos. And so something like this, it would end up being like Skip the Dishes or any other brand where you would see the sticker and you'd be like, huh. Because like I remember seeing Skip the Dishes stickers on restaurants
yeah,
and being like, "Well, I don't want to do the dishes. Like I don't understand."
yeah,
But now it is taking a life of its own and it's developed as a brand. So same
yeah.
thing here. Call the house could end up being a sticker on the picture, and at least it might invite people to read down further.
Yeah, you'd almost have to then though, if you're gonna start building like the sticker, you need a memorable phone, like a central line that then directs them to the right house.
I don't think that people are doing like I think you take the phone out of it if you're on an app already, right?
Yeah.
So why does it need to be a phone call? Like why can't I do this in Messenger?
You could have it work across all platforms.
Well, the virtue of having it on the phone is that an agent would be able to jump into the call.
Yeah, it could push them over to the right person. But that's the beauty of AI though, is it could know the context across all the different platforms and make it seamless.
Well,
So
what
like
I'm
you could,
saying though is it's like what the objective is to get to talk to the right people for the agent, not
yeah,
to provide information for the listing. Like it's a bit
yeah,
of both, but if somebody's calling to inquire and they want to book a showing, like I want to talk to them. And you
yeah,
know how
you
you
could,
like interruption of voicemail?
yeah,
That's what I'm seeing where this stuff comes through on an app and you can see it pick up and you can say like, "Oh, I'm just an agent looking for the lockbox." And then they could reply and say like, "Oh, the lockbox is on the side door as per private remarks."
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah.
Talk to your broker. But like maybe what it also is like
Or what
it could
time is the
start
open
on
house? It could
Messenger.
answer stuff like that, and then I'm not going to pick that up.
Yeah, I can do all the basic stuff like that for you easily, but you could do it as like even if they start through texting or messaging and they want a phone call, it starts the phone call just to confirm they're serious.
Okay, I want to
Then
do
it
this
pushes you
more.
to it.
So this AI, it needs to change, it needs to exchange information.
Yeah.
So like when somebody says how many bedrooms is this, should say this property has 4 bedrooms.
Is that enough for you?
Is that enough for everyone? You got it.
Yeah. Yeah, and have it start doing your qualifying process right
Like you
there.
could essentially acquire family, occupation, recreation, and dreams
Yeah.
through this
The
if you
key is
set
that
it
it's
up right.
saying what it is during it. Like it's again not pretending to be a person. It's saying up front, hey, I'm an AI just to help you get better acquainted, then I'm going to push you into the right spot. Or
Mhm.
direct you would be the proper wording, but I'm going to make sure you speak to the right person that's best suited for you. Because then, like at a team level, right? Like you could even say, like, hey, this group of listings, it's actually the best person on my team to talk to is this person, right? Because like some teams are set up like specialists for different areas,
Mhm.
and you can start doing like, oh yeah, if anyone asks about these homes, push them over there,
Hmm.
right? Like some interesting ways to do it there. Uh, but that would be fun. But yeah, so we'll take that part offline of talking with the guy I think can build that out for us pretty quick. Test
Cool.
it out, and then we'll go from there with it.
Excellent.
And then we'll report back on what results are like once we get that built out. It'll be good.
Hmm.
It's got potential though.
Agreed.
Okay.
Uh, we had some other things. You had a call this morning.
Yeah, so I was talking to someone about long form content. So like basically what it started out as was like essentially like an Instagram coaching training type of deal where they had hired me a while back to do like a one-on-one consulting on their Instagram strategy. And the very, very long story short of how it came to us to talk about it on here was he had to go back because he like was the initial conversation made him rethink his entire model. Which is a fun thing to do sometimes. And
Been there.
what he wanted to do, so what he came back with was he wanted to start interviewing local businesses. And he was thinking of those like TikTok, Reel, interview on the street that are like 30 seconds with someone. And I had to do a full reset again on him here. Is that so here's the thing that I found like those types of interviews, if you know the ones I'm talking about, where someone goes up and just asks, those are designed just to get the most amount of views from people everywhere so they can get paid from like the view count. But
Hmm.
for real estate, that's not the goal with your content is to get maximum number of views. It's maximum number of views from local people. But then it's also like my favorite thing if I'm a real estate agent is using content to build relationships with people. So what I was thinking is he was thinking of like, oh, what if I went to a networking event and just like instead of exchanging business cards and small talk, I did a 30-second interview with everyone there. And what I was saying is actually, I bet you'd get more long term if you went, talked to people there, learned a little bit about them, and identified those with the most interesting stories, and then sat down with them for a long form piece of content and build the relationship with them on one hand. And then now you also have this long form piece of content that you can promote, and you can then take clips that go onto your social. But the idea is you create that long form content and then distribute it and promote it with smaller clips. But the long form content is all more focused on the relationship. Like I was talking to a team in Kelowna and they used to do a podcast and they're asking for my opinion on why it didn't work. And so we started diving into learning about it. And they had hired a company that was known for blowing up podcasts. And again, they're trying to be like, why didn't this work for us? And what we kind of, as we dug into it, what we realized was this was someone who blew up podcasts whose goal was to get the most amount of views to sell ads on the podcast. So
So
like,
now you're looking really wide angle, not
yeah.
considering
And
geography.
so this company even like went and got guests for people. So like they were looking at who in real estate has the biggest followings and let's get them on as guests. Except like one of the people is like an agent in Atlanta, an agent in Texas, or it's coming on a Kelowna real estate podcast, which, okay, maybe that grows your audience, but not with people that help you reach your goal.
Hmm.
And what I was saying is like, you have to go the other route of ignore the size of audiences necessarily. Like, yeah, like if there's local people with a big audience, interview them, but more focus on building the relationships with local people through the podcast and getting to talk to them and spend time with them and learn about them and go in depth with them and get them liking you and help you support their business. The actual view count, I'd say for the first year of anyone in real estate doing a podcast, the views should be almost irrelevant. Not quite irrelevant, almost irrelevant. It's about the relationships you're building. There's a little bit of relevancy around the view count from the perspective of it's easier to get more and more guests if they see that there's a certain number of views. But like, I don't even know what the population of Kelowna is, but let's just say for argument's sake, it's a million, which I know it's not. It's I think it's probably like half that or less. But let's just say for argue, that is like your total possible listenership right there. You're never gonna go mega viral with tens of millions of views. So you got to focus on like the right, like a great local podcast that had like 500 to 1,000 dedicated listeners would kill it. And that's all you
Yeah,
need.
you've talked about this before with like real
Yeah.
estate having this crossover with local media. If
Yeah.
you get a podcast to simulate the local radio, if you can get a podcast, if you can get a way into the newspaper, those are valuable. When I look at people starting podcasts, this is my third. The first one I did was Trend Gorilla,
Mhm.
and I think that we ended up doing about 30 episodes, maybe a little bit more than that. And that was about what was trending on Google and giving it relevance. So we used to talk about like the top 50 trending ideas. We just work our way down the list with
Yeah.
whatever we thought we could run with. And then by the end of it, we were having guests that were like known comedians. So we had a guy named Rob Pugh that was on Punked. We had oh, who is this other? There was a guy that was on King of Queens, Jimmy Schubert. He
I
was
probably
also
recognize that. I used to watch that, so I probably recognize a face, but I don't know the
Cousin
name.
Jimmy, yeah, and he was also on Last Comic Standing.
Oh yeah.
So we just picked up the comedians that were coming through town, had them on a podcast, talked about like what was relevant right now, and it was hilarious, and it had thousands of listeners. Um, but it was tied to a website that was like my first startup, and
Yeah.
then from there I did Leadership Line of Sight, and that was with the tech company, and had some cool people on there, like the head of quantum computing, this
Yeah.
amazing lady that has the Order of the British Empire and the director of NASA iTech. So that was also cool, but
Yeah.
we didn't promote that. Like a lot of that was actually ways for our network to make themselves more known and for me to get like tied into our network.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of cool on from that aspect. But then when we come to this podcast, like really we want this conversation to exist.
Yeah.
And we want more people to get into it. It's like where the sizzle is in real estate is the edge of marketing and sales. It's
Yeah.
what
But
I
this is a
think about
different
all
style.
the frickin' time,
Yeah.
right?
So this podcast is a different style though, right? Like I'm looking like there's some potential other podcasts we might be doing through REM that would be more that style of just as much for the networking side.
Hmm.
That's not this one. This one's different. This is more like you'd probably classify it as like a thought leadership or something like that style, which has different goals. So it's again depending on the angle, but I think for most real estate agents, like if you're doing a thought leadership one, it's tough as a realtor to do that locally, to be like the thought leader on local real estate, depending on your like if you're Toronto, Vancouver, Edmonton, Calgary, like big city. Small city podcast thought leadership style, you're going to struggle to make that worth it.
Hmm.
But
Thought leadership isn't
relationship
bigger.
builder,
Yeah.
right? So there's you got to go and do different things like that. Um, I would look at it again for me, the first year of any podcast, where I'm a local thing or a very small network is the relationship building. And then you can get strategic about which people are coming on that can help amplify, but it's a tool to help you connect with people better and get more time with them.
So the theory behind golfing is spending more than 3 hours with somebody is like a relationship effect.
Yeah.
So having like a longer form so if we were to dissect this and say, okay, if it's just talking about you and the person that you're podcasting with, through podcasting, you get more of an opportunity to share ideas and develop relationships.
Yeah.
You get a reason to have this conversation where they share about themselves. And the other thing it does is it provides status as a service. And that is a very effective influence technique. And when you do that for someone else, it has them it makes you appear influential.
Yeah.
So that would be what you were getting from the people that you're podcasting with. And that should be a big part of how you choose your guests in a local podcast is who would benefit from me, like helping them with statuses of service. I don't have a huge podcast, but sometimes just being able to tell your story with anyone that would actually care and record it.
Yeah. And as a side note here, we're saying podcast. This could also be like long form articles on your website and you're interviewing people and you're doing like this doesn't necessarily have to be
You
specifically a
can choose how
podcast.
you want to distribute
Yeah,
this.
like really what we're talking about is long form content and like where stuff like this works really well is this is also stuff that like AI can't replicate, right? Like
Mhm.
that's for example why like AI can't create REM is like we have to go do interviews. We have to talk to people. We have to get stuff that doesn't exist online to create articles. You just AI can't go. Well, I mean, AI probably could if you told to call someone actually interview them, but it wouldn't have the right answers. But like, we have to go collect all that information to then turn it into fresh new content, and then AI can train our content and do stuff from there. But we got to be the first ones to create it. Um, you want to look at like for your business when you're doing long form content, the stuff that will perform the best is what can't it do? What can you create that's new and unique and has fresh data that is just impossible for something like AI or someone else just to do? And that's the stuff that'll perform the best. Like even when I'm looking back at like written articles I've done for REM, some of the stuff that's in terms of like getting clients, which is sometimes different than the most views, is when I've like shared unique data they couldn't get anywhere else.
Mm.
Like I did an article a while back.
And expert level context.
Yeah.
The context in framing things and giving contrast, like stats don't matter without contrast. You have to compare things to things because otherwise everybody compares to what they ideally would see, and that often doesn't exist.
Yeah.
But there's the stories of people are what the public is interested in. You know, if you interview somebody who owns a restaurant, everybody who has dreamt of owning a restaurant wants to see. And letting that we most of us in real estate actually like we really love this. We love the stories we collect. We meet all these people and then over the years we go back and check in on them and
Yeah.
participate in their milestones. Like this is something that is a wonderful thing about being in real estate, but to capture these in an organized way that's consistent with who you are and how you distribute it is part of the plan. Now, there also is not just with you and that other person, there's a holistic growth plan associated with this. So
Yeah.
after that, if you want more people to follow the podcast, you've got to promote it. And then with those people that do end up following the podcast, you have to open more lines of communication. This is where like email lists come in
Yeah.
and why celebrities do things like meet and greets. Like it is it's a competition for relevance.
Yeah. And this is like for a lot of people, do like a top of funnel thing, right? Like this is that awareness play and building that side of it. And then you got to work them through from there. Um,
That's where you can see it
yeah.
holistically. So
Yeah.
you do a podcast and maybe the person that maybe the friends of the people that started the restaurant watch when you interview the restaurant owner. And then now you have become known to them. And then it could be that in the future you do an event at their restaurant. My guess is they probably like you now. So you're at the gates of trust, and every time that you get to there, you have a real chance of working with people or getting into their network. And
Yeah.
that's kind of the idea with this. But many people do a podcast and don't promote it.
There's a
Many people do a podcast, don't promote it, and don't actually capture contact for anybody who does it. And then you're just doing a podcast.
there's an interesting thing I was reading where a couple people, I think it was on like LinkedIn, shared this amazing thought leadership piece on marketing. I read it and I was like, that's not thought leadership. That's like 20 years old. And they're trying to rebrand and they're like, funnels and flywheels are dead thanks to Gen Z. It's now like chaos marketing or something. Like I think that was like a name like that. And basically the argument was people now don't just like follow your perfectly like Gen Z doesn't follow your perfect funnel. Like they don't click here, buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this, right? Like it's not a I'm like it's never been linear. That's been a 20-year problem of like they see an ad here, they Google it here, they check it out here, they do like that's not a new thing.
And you can see all
That has
the evidence of a
always been marketing.
struggle, right? Like,
Yeah.
remember when people used to be like, hey, and now since you see me on Instagram, make sure to watch my YouTube. There was
Yeah.
a lot of like try to move them from platform.
Yeah.
And then that trend changed.
But like this at the end of the day, it's right. Like it's you got to build brand awareness. And essentially you just kind of are enough around for people that when it comes the right time, you then funnel them to the right thing to contact you. But it was just, I find it funny how they're trying to like act like this was some new thing that they had just discovered. And it reminded me of that, like, I love Good Will Hunting, but you know, that scene where he's like, oh, that's what you believe now. Wait till next year when you read this book. And you're going to read that. It's funny. You could actually, if you start knowing where the books everyone reads, you can start pinpointing when certain like online people have read a book because then like that's the theme of everything they say for the next little while.
Yeah,
And I was like, which one did they just read that brought up this
totally.
revelation of attribution is horrible online? It's like this is the toughest thing with online marketing. And like I have had to talk about a lot of clients with this of like, let's say I'm running Facebook ads for someone. Is if your business goes up 20%, but you can't necessarily say it's from the Facebook ads, that doesn't mean the Facebook ads didn't work. Because like I know a lot of people who will see ads all the time. Like this happens to my buddy who owns a gym. He runs a lot of Facebook ads, and not necessarily a ton of appointments come from people clicking on the ad, going to the page that it links to, and opting in. But he gets a lot of people who walk into the gym and be like, "Yeah, I've been seeing your Facebook ads everywhere, so I figured I'd come in." Right? It's like there's no clean system sometimes that you can perfectly attribute, or like if
Well, they're talking
here's
about
the
the advertisement, but marketing is
yeah
a body of work.
yeah you get to look at it everything holistically across
And
the
that
board.
advertisement, they think like, oh, this is a vehicle for conversion. So if it didn't get
Yeah,
me leads, it didn't function. And it's
yeah,
like, no, it didn't get you to the gates of trust. Like it
yeah,
didn't get you to that like interview, but it still contributed to knowing you. So it was just
yeah,
it's
yeah. Well,
scoring
this
in a
is
couple different places.
that thing that we've talked about many times on the show in person at that mastermind we did of like one of my biggest pet peeves with speakers is when they go on stage and they're like, "Well, you got to build the know, like, and trust," but everyone says it like it's one word, where it's like the know,
Elemental
like, and
P.
trust. No, yeah, where it's like, no, no, those are distinct phases.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The odd content, the odd campaign can build all three, but first you have to get them to know you, then you got to get them to like you, then you got to get them to trust you. And we all know people we know and like that we don't trust with money.
And could you imagine, like, to give you an idea of what it would like to be what it would like to do it with one shot?
Yeah.
That would be like Lee Harvey Oswald killing JFK
Yeah.
on his own. Like, that is the magic bullet
What are
theory.
you
And
talking
if you
about? He did.
believe in that, you're probably going to lose all your money.
Yeah. But like there's so many things like yeah, okay, like there's some examples like the Dollar Shave Club. I would argue that one ad probably did all three, right?
But
But
that,
that's
yeah,
the exception, right?
yeah,
Like
okay.
that's
So,
the
like, if
strike gold.
those guys got my money, still get my money. I got to figure out how to
Yeah.
cancel that stuff. I
Yeah,
literally
it's
have.
just because you clearly don't shave.
Come on, man.
Oh, that's true.
I'm
That's
looking
true.
fresh.
That's just a buffer.
Yeah, I do.
But
I do more acreage than others.
yeah. But yeah, like
Okay, so
yeah. There's
so
so that go ahead.
Jennifer was saying that she hasn't watched Good Will Hunting. When's the last time you watched it?
That's a good question. When was the last? It's in the last couple of years, but it's probably been a couple of years.
It's rewatchable though,
It
right?
is. I've
So
seen
if
that.
you
Like
guys don't know
I've seen that
what
movie
this
a dozen
is, it's
times.
young Matt Damon, young
Yeah.
Ben Affleck, and Robin Williams in a
Yeah.
movie that they wrote themselves.
Yeah.
It was well, and also had some help from some cool people like Kevin Smith.
Yeah. It's a great
Yeah,
movie. I mean, I assume
highly
most
recommend.
people at this point have seen it. Most people probably have.
But if you haven't
Like
seen
there's
it,
a lot of
wow, watch
great
it again.
comedy making fun of the movie though. Like there's still stuff to this day that makes me laugh all the time. Like there was one like was it Family Guy making fun of it where it's like Ben Affleck writing the movie and then Matt Damon just sitting on the couch and every time he's like, "You have any ideas to contribute?" He's like, "Matt Damon." Like making fun of how clearly it's all Ben, not Matt. And there's another great bit making fun of him, but
I watched a
uh,
movie with those guys.
oh yeah. Which one?
Yeah. Air, the Nike one.
It's a good movie.
I was at the movie premiere for Air.
That's sweet.
And Matt Damon and Ben Affleck talked at the beginning. There was some other people there. I thought for a little bit we were going to see Michael Jordan,
Just like the
but we
movie.
did not see Michael Jordan.
Yeah. Just like in the movie itself.
Yeah, but Chris Tucker was there.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, that was at South by Southwest in 2023.
Yeah. Yeah. Every now and then I'll see an interview with Ben Affleck, or especially talking like the business side, and you sometimes you forget just how smart they are. But do you know, actually, I saw an interview with him recently. This is an interesting one of how sometimes your marketing, you don't know what to expect in terms of what's going to resonate the most. Do you know what he said is probably the piece of content he made that had one of the biggest impacts on his career? That he says when he gets stopped on the street, this is what he typically gets referenced the most.
Hmm.
If you had to guess what it is, what do you think Ben Affleck gets mentioned the most by fans for?
Mallrats.
No. The
Um,
DVD commentary of Armageddon.
really?
Because it went viral because like basically he's honest. So like if you know Armageddon, the movie,
Mhm.
basically the plot is they have astronauts going to an asteroid to mine it to put a bomb in to blow up an asteroid that's going to blow up Earth and cause Armageddon. And the Bruce Willis, who's like a miner who's designed a drill bit, comes to NASA to advise them why their drills keep breaking and essentially convinces NASA that it's easier to train his people to walk in space and go to the asteroid than it is to train astronauts to work his drill. And so Ben's like, so I brought this thing of like, how is that possible that these like genius astronauts who like have all these trainings couldn't learn to drill in 6 months, but you could teach drillers from an oil rig how to go to space and like do all that. Like, and then he's like, and the director just said, "Shut up! This is a popcorn movie. Don't think too much." And it's like the entire commentary is him just giving his honest feedback of the ultimate popcorn flick. And it's so, but he's like, literally, I go all over. And he's like, that is still probably one of the most mentioned things when people talk to me as they talk to me about the Armageddon commentary. So, like, sometimes you do these pieces of content out there that's like, how is that the thing that Ben Affleck is off, like, most cited when he runs into people for what they loved?
Because that's funny as all get out.
Yeah, it's so good. But if you do enjoy that movie, go look up the part where he's talking about drilling, and it's hilarious. It's like a 3 minute clip. It's worth it.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to recap on our Taylor as a guinea pig process.
Yeah.
So, in the past weeks, we have documented as I've made my new website. My website that I built with your feedback and a GPT companion,
Yeah.
it's making some cash, man.
That's what I like to hear.
So,
How much?
Yeah, so we're getting definitely leads through. Hold on a second. Let me see what I got here for some math. Because this is a Squarespace site,
Yeah,
and you
nothing
can see it
fancy.
at
Something that
hackandco.com.
any of you could build yourselves fairly easily.
And we're getting form submissions, and I'm saying in May, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine. I think I got 15 here in the last 30 days. So we're popping almost every other day. And
It's a good
that's
start for a
not
new site.
counting the people that are signing up for our insider newsletter, which is something that we're working on as well.
Yeah, which we're testing a
So,
few different ways to do.
yeah, so we talked about the website. We built something and
Yeah.
we're building it in, I'm building it in fairly basic ways that I can improve later. Like I can definitely have a website designer take a look at what I got now
Oh
and
yeah.
say like, hey, this is what my thoughts are. Now let's move it over and level it up. And then we started with like our understanding, kind of building things from pieces. Now, I know that I wanted a newsletter, but due to the temperature in my market, I'm in a seller's market, I wanted to go with property first and stuff that's not on
Yeah.
realtor.ca. So that's how we formed the Hack and Co Insiders, which is a legal way to give people information before the 72-hour coming soon rule.
Yeah.
So that's what you're shooting for. Then we also were talking about learning the rules to your MLS system. So we learned the rules and then we started to level up our plays. So now our feature photos are contrasting photos. We also are using this hook that is getting reported on every single listing we post. So what you can do, because we read the rules, is put in your text, visit the realtor's website, right?
Yeah.
And that is an unknown rule because I am literally being reported several times on each listing and I laugh every time.
Is it just that line you're putting now? Or are you
No,
putting
we're
like a
still
little
doing the load
description?
line.
Okay. So you're still putting
Yeah.
a little bit before it. I
Well,
still think
it
there's value in making that the only line on one and seeing what happens. It's bold.
I like. All
Right?
right.
Like it's I
We'll
don't
work
know
up
that
to that.
I can talk myself either way on that one.
I think it's spicy. Um,
Uh,
okay, so we talked about kind of maximizing on that MLS side and starting to drive. So now we have basically inflow to our website from primarily two places.
yeah.
The first one was that I'm a highly rated real estate team. So I'm number one in my area on Rank My Agent. So people will click through onto my website, check things out, make sure that it smells the way it should smell, and then they come through. All right. The other is property. So people are hitting the MLS system, they're seeing visit the realtor's website from our property, and then they're coming through to our website and hitting from there.
No.
Now we are also promoting our insiders list. So we did a couple of things. I put it on my last newsletter, but I think I'm going to do a better job of that next time
Okay.
because I've tried it a couple of different ways where in one case, I put insiders on an email that I sent out to just my database and I asked them to reply insider and I got a few of them, right?
Yeah.
But then on this larger email that doesn't just go to our past clients, but goes to like everybody in our database, I sent them to the more information on insider where they would have to do a double email verification.
Yeah.
And I bet you if I just would have went simple with reply to insiders, that would have worked better.
Yeah, I like the reply with because it's a little higher intent people too.
Mm,
And then you get a nice reply to them of like, great, added you to the list. Any particular like anything you're specifically looking for I can help you with in the
yep.
meantime, right? Like you can
Higher quality
continue a
engagement.
conversation. Yeah. Because at the end of
Mm,
the day, that's a big part of the goal is you want to have like the more quality, I always say that like to oversimplify the ideal real estate agent marketing strategy is just create the most conversations possible.
mm.
Like the more
So,
you do.
and that's a really good point. So we were
Yeah.
talking about this insiders list. Now we put it in action. Andrew gave me an assignment to make a video, and I got him a video.
Yeah.
And then the other thing was that we tried doing one with copy, and those two are both running now, I believe.
Yeah, the video one's getting more right now. I'm just pulling up the numbers here. The cost per lead is still higher than I want for this. Um, but and it's something we can work, always we're going to work on, improve that, get that better. But
Yeah, we don't know. Like
it's
you
early
can't
still
steer a
too.
parked car. You can turn the wheel all you want, but until
Yeah.
you get it into motion, it doesn't
Yeah.
actually turn.
Like right now on that one, the variation with the video, it spent $29. So
Mhm.
not enough data yet, but starting
This
high,
is
a
what we're
little bit
waiting
higher
for.
cost per
And
lead.
at $29 lessons are cheap. Let's go.
Yeah. And we still
Um,
got, we're at $5 a lead. So,
mhm.
I mean,
I
it's
don't know.
okay.
I'd pay $5 for a lot of conversations. Like for the
Oh,
good
so,
ones,
so
I
like
definitely pay $5. There's some that I want my
it's
money
still
back.
in a range. I'm happy to run it, but I would still like to get that list because I think it can be done. I think we can get it under two.
Hmm.
I think it's just going to be finding the right angle that resonates with people in your area. Because
Hmm.
like this is like where it's going to a little bit of testing is like we know like I've gotten lists like that in the past in like the Toronto area, but Toronto had the type of market you're in for 15 years. So even the people locally had more awareness of like all of this stuff, whereas people in Edmonton, it's a newer experience. So it's like kind of figuring out where they are mentally because it's different than what they would have been in Toronto, where they were used to this for 15 years, this type of market. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like it's we just got to slightly find the right combo there, but I think we can at least cut that cost per lead in half over time.
Hmm.
So we'll get there.
Great.
No,
Uh, that's awesome. I'm thinking about like the combination of things that you were telling us earlier with which is like one, we're making a holistic marketing strategy. So I just talked about two different ways that we're driving, now this third way that we're driving, and then you had this idea for another way that's tied to that longer content.
yeah,
So the assignment now is to make a mini listing presentation video.
yeah. That one I like. I love this idea, and I think there's a ton of potential around it. And it's basically we want to take Taylor's listing presentation, condense it into a 5-minute video, and then blast that out to everybody in his area with Facebook and Instagram ads. Because if like for example, think of how high, like especially yours, and you probably even know the number of like your conversion rate on your listing presentation.
Oh, 90%.
Yeah. And then if we can get that in front of and like people who watched an entire like 5-minute version of that, that's a high quality target.
Hmm.
And I think that's where
And
and
I've
like
got something
definitely
really spicy to talk about. So,
yeah,
like this is why this is exciting for me right now. Your market might not be the same as mine. Your storyline might be
yeah,
different than mine. But let's break it down because you have a good way to put this. So, overall, what we're trying to do is give someone a more solid preview of what they would buy.
yeah,
Because what many people are nervous about is you're going to come to their house and you're just going to be wishy-washy, I don't know, like very like a clerk. How can I
yeah,
help you?
yeah,
And so when you can show that you can have game, this will separate you from others. For me, who I'm trying to get is the person that scores in real estate because they're the friendliest person at the barbecue and they go to all the barbecues, right?
yeah,
I don't go to the barbecues. I don't get to as many of them as I would like because I'm working. I'm selling real estate. And I think that there's a difference between this other group and myself, and I want to draw that attention. The other thing is that I imagine there's a whole bunch of people that are going to look at this like a through an individual agent. All right, you should have a very clear approach for how to play to your game. Like you can talk about things about how like, man, these big teams, who are you really dealing with, right?
yeah.
Like you could
And
go after
passed
somebody
off.
like me and be like, "You
Yeah.
think you're gonna talk to Taylor?" Right?
You can get
That's
Taylor
your
if you
angle.
tried.
Is you're like, I don't spread myself over many clients. I only serve a
Yeah,
select few. You can
yeah,
really attack those teams from your side.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm going to play to the team side. So I'm going to say things like, I think the job's too big for an individual agent. And I
Yeah.
just want you to know that both of us are going to play our side and we're going to play to what we call our three uniques. But some of the things that I say might be incendiary to you. And I want you to know that that's how we all like, I'm going to play to my advantages and you should play to yours.
Yeah, that's a huge part of it, right? Like it's at the end of the day, it's positioning, which if you ever want to read a great positioning book, Obviously Awesome by April Dunford.
Hmm.
Um, really has, so like for Just Sell Homes, for example, when I read that one, we realized our main competition was not someone else who sells Facebook ads. It was people not taking action.
Hell
Because
yeah.
95% of people who we had sales calls with that I followed up with after to find out, because I was part of the exercise of the book that I recommend, is like go over the last like 6 months people who didn't hire you and find out who they hired. And
And
so I
they didn't
did.
have anybody?
95% of people just didn't do anything.
Hmm.
They chose not to do ads at all. And so what we realized is our competition was not another company, it was inaction.
So
And
instead
so
of trying to convince them to choose you among competition, you'd be trying to educate them as to how this would help their
yeah,
business at all.
literally what we had to switch to is just all we need to do is make you realize you need Facebook ads for that service. Once you decided you want it, what we realized is we were the choice every time for most of them.
Hmm.
It was just making sure they knew like this is, and so like we basically showed them more in depth earlier on the exact steps of how it can help them and help them sooner.
Hmm.
And that just pushes it forward. So for us, that's what we were going after is we weren't committed. Like there was a time like back when I first started, I had one competitor in Canada, Rebecca Mountain. And what we found was that like both of us, every sales call we were on, someone was essentially deciding, do I want to work with Rebecca or Andrew? And that was the entire sales call.
And my
Was
guess is if they were a better fit for Rebecca, you wanted them to go there.
yeah, most of the time it was like I like her because she's very like she's way more high energy than me, and I'm more
Yeah,
like
we've
just
had her on
yeah.
on the podcast.
And so it's just, do you prefer a high energy or more that like calm side? And like everyone's different. What's their preference? But the funniest part, which we talked about, I think on their show with hers, I was running the ads either way because she had actually by that point white labeled the work to us. So
Hmm.
there was plenty of times, and what happens like if one client left us, they'd go to her. If they left her, they'd come to us to try, and it was still me running the ads. But that was a fun time back then. But then she shut down our agency to pursue coaching. And since then, we haven't had a competitor. It's been inaction. And that's where we had to change our marketing to focus on that. But so, like, that's not really the case with real estate, where it's like, I wouldn't look for any realtor that the competition is nothing, with the exception of to a degree, unless you're thinking nothing of like, are they going to move or not?
Mm.
But that could be
But
for some
otherwise,
of
just
you.
take the meeting.
Yeah. But then it's okay, who am I positioned against? Like this is where like it's really important when you're talking to people. It's like not just are you meeting other realtors, who? And I would even start tracking the mentions that other people get. So you could see who are you going up against statistically the most.
Hmm.
And then I would also look like in your farm areas, like for you it's Sherwood, and then there's the other one, which I'm drawing a brain fart on right
Sherwood
now.
Park and St. Albert.
Yes. So like I would look at just also who's getting the most listings there outside of you.
Mhm.
And then specifically think of like that's your main thing of like the people I've mentioned the most, and then the other is just who's the other big names in the area that you're going up against, and then just making sure you're positioned the right way against them.
Hmm.
Like there's
And
I'd
we're a
love
good
playing with that.
alternative in both cases.
Yeah.
Because
And you should
it's better when it's like the most important thing is that you're not too similar to your competition.
yeah.
Because there's going to be some people that just won't choose that. And
But
so they're going to come to you, just like Andrew was saying with Rebecca and himself.
even if you are similar though, it's highlighting the little parts that aren't and driving that hard. And looking at it from that, like just like what are those little things? Like it's like the back when they used to market cigarettes and they were like, they had to change how they marketed them, and they're like, well, we'll just say, but everyone, it's like, let's just say they're toasted. No one talked about that, but like then they're like everyone toasted. It's like, who cares? We're the only one talking about it. And it's like, so what are those things you can highlight, maybe that no one else is doing, or that everyone else is doing, but no one's talking about? It's like, how can we differentiate it just from that? Because then if everyone now starts marketing it too, they'll be like, well, Taylor was the first. They're playing catch
Okay,
up.
I'm going to talk about my listing presentation a little bit. And so out of this, we're going to complete your assignment, like the prep for it, but everybody's going
Yeah.
to be able to kind of see where we're going on this.
Yeah.
So I'm going to break down my listing presentation overall.
Yeah.
The first part of any presentation should be audience prep. So for me, when I go to somebody's house, the first thing I do is I walk through their property. I ask them if there's anything that they're planning to change before we list or anything they had questions on. And then I go through and they kind of talk about their house and I talk about how I see it as an agent and mainly how buyers would see their house.
Yeah.
In many cases, I actually even push a little bit on that side and say like this house is nice enough. Like, have you thought about not selling it? Like that's not in a way to sound like smarmy or anything. What I'm shooting for is to help understand what is their factor in this. Like this is a nice house. You could just still live here.
Yeah.
Why don't you want to be that to be the case? Because how they answer that question and why they said they called me are normally two different things, and I like the answer to this question better. Then we sit down and we talk about things like one, we talk about where the evidence is of properties like theirs selling. And I just talk about it like that. Like, you know what? Here's some similar properties. This is why I think that. We look at it live on MLS. I don't prepare it in advance like a CMA. And then we're going to get into talking about the more important stuff. Like, okay, if this is where the market is, what you don't want is someone who is going to get you less than what the market could give you, right? Like the whole job is to get you the best options for next time.
Yeah.
And the idea would be is that there's some agents out there that might make mistakes, and then this would be lower than some of these competitors. And there's some people that are going to basically be able to give you certainty that they've done this enough.
Yeah.
So if you're talking to any other agents, that's one of the questions that you want is how often do you do this and what do the results look like? I can tell you in 2025, our average listing has had 12 offers. We've had 12 offers per listing on average. And that's because in this market, there's a lot of attention, but how do you action that attention? So many people don't know. The biggest problem to solve in this market is only 13% of agents in general industry standard make it past 5 years. And Edmonton hasn't seen a seller's market in over 10 years. So the likelihood that someone doesn't have a strategy that will get you the most money in this market is extremely high. I'm rare because I go throughout North America as a professional speaker. I get invited to amazing places and I see many markets. So when I saw this market taking shape, I went to a place where this had been the deepest for the longest. I went to Toronto. A friend of mine owns the largest brokerage in the world, 4,000 agents in one brokerage. That's the largest in our brand's global network. And he rented a golf course so he could put his top 50 team leaders in a room with me to talk back and forth about the things that we could share because I came from a very hard market that was buyer centric and that was likely to be their future. And my market was just heating up and they had agents that had evolved in that market for 4 years. So the idea was that I could gain a value from that. And honestly, that's what we're doing for our clients now. It feels like I own a hot tub time machine. What we're able to do through our plan is to get everything in motion first. I think that the theater would be empty if there weren't any previews. Most of the time, when a property goes to realtor.ca, that's the moment that anyone outside of those clients and their agent knows that property is for sale. If this is the first house you've ever sold, that's fair. Not my first house. We've sold hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. And in that case, we found that it's better that if you get the backfield, or it's better if you get the backfield in motion. So we have a very large database that we let them know even once we sign listings. There are people that are waiting for this to come to opening weekend. Then there's coming soon marketing. That's the first time that we can legally talk to the public. That that period is 72 hours. We plan to take all 72 hours. And then by the time we hit realtor.ca, there's literally people that call us if we're late. One day, my assistant, she was not feeling well. So it was me that had to hit the button. By 10 a.m., we already had 7 calls of people saying, "Hey, I thought this was coming today." That's the difference. That's the way that we are able to get more attention because if you get more online attention, you get more showings. If you get more showings, you get more offers. If you get more offers, you are going to get the best price and terms that this market has to offer. I just did this in this other property, Otwell. In fact, I have a few case studies that we can show you. In Otwell, we set the lifetime record. That neighborhood was built in the 60s. And now we've sold in there for higher sale over list price than anybody who's ever tried before. And that's what we're bringing to you. We want you to have a great experience and we want you to get the most money. And instead of asking if the market will give it to you, let's get them to show us what they've got.
I like it. So while you're talking, I've been testing something. So I've built for my team a GPT that's kind of based on like the best ad writing advice. And I had kind of took points that you were saying and threw it in there. And it came up with a short script. So there's two variations for you to give your opinion on.
Hmm.
And I'm curious your thoughts on just taking what you said there, thrown into one GPT, what you think of this. So the first one, thinking of selling your home in Edmonton, I've got a question for you. Do you want to list it or launch it into a bidding war?
Let's
And that
go.
then it says overlay on top, number one rated team in Edmonton, and 112% of list price average versus 98% for the city average. And then it cuts back to I'm Taylor Hack, team leader, international speaker, and a student of what works. When bidding wars hit hit Edmonton, I flew to Toronto to study under the top 50 agents who've done it for years. Now we're bringing the battle tested playbook to your front door. They taught me the moves, we made them our own. And now our clients are seeing results that leave the average agent in the dust. Our sellers walk away with 112% list price because we don't just put your home on the market, we position it for maximum competition. Then it comes back to you. This isn't for everyone. If you're looking to just stick a sign on the lawn, we're not your team. But if you want strategy, precision, and more money in your pocket, click below and let's talk. And then there's a PS, no discounts, no guesswork. Just the most advanced listing strategy in Edmonton, straight from the Toronto playbook. So that's version one. That's not bad. And then version two here, similar. Want to sell your home in Edmonton for more than it's worth? I don't know that I want to use that more than it's worth part, but we can debate that. Um,
You kind of do, though. You kind of want
yeah,
that.
yeah. You don't just need an agent, you need a launch strategy. Then it comes back to the overlay with the rank my agent 112% lift price. At Hack and Co, we do what average agents won't. We build hype before your home even hits the market from our exclusive insider list. Um, Oh, I lost my train. To our coming soon campaigns, we spark demand early and buyers show up hungry. And when Edmonton started seeing bidding wars, I went straight to the source, sat down with the top 50 team leaders in Toronto, and brought back the exact playbook they've used to dominate. Now we use those same moves right here, creating competition, urgency, and the kind of buzz that drive prices up. This is how our listings sell for 112% of list price, not someday, now. Because we don't wait for the market to act, we create the market. If you're looking for a discount agent or a lazy list and leave, we're not your people. But if you want your home to feel like the hottest ticket in town, click below and let's launch it right. Those aren't bad for popping that out pretty fast.
That's pretty good. So this is my favorite thing about AI
Yeah.
is like right now, the artificial intelligence makes it fast,
Yeah.
but also having you look at that and be like, oh, okay, I'm going to shave here and trim there. I like this, but I'm going to say it differently.
Yeah.
Like those types of elements, that's what we talk about when we call it the human in the loop.
Yeah.
And Andrew realizes that he made a quick prompt, and so he's going to have to be more of a human in the loop. And if he had more design time, he would get it closer each time, right?
Yeah. So like, and if I was doing this in an ideal scenario here, I would actually go take when you read what you said or said what you said, I would go take that transcript, that section of it, and funnel that in directly word for word. And then basically, and I don't actually believe what you said is a 5 out of 10, but that's how I would word it to ChatGPT. I would say what Taylor said here about his listing presentation is a 5 out of 10. What would it take to make this a 10 out of 10?
Nice.
And then whatever it says, I would say that's a level one answer. Give me a level two answer.
Hmm.
And then we see where it goes from there. And then you start getting into, okay, now let's get this expert's version, this expert's feedback, just to like give it
See
different
that like
feedback on it.
working it in,
Yeah.
this is the human in the loop at a really high level.
Yeah.
Like Andrew actually has artificial intelligence agents that talk to each other.
Yeah.
So there's ways to push the machine, and also ways to just make it do quick stuff. And the idea is you got to decide if you're working on a dime project or a dollar project or a $1 billion project. Like that's you have to appropriately decide how many resources you're going to give to this.
I always love when I'm using an AI is to have it explain the reasoning behind anything it's doing as part of the output. So like this custom GPT I made for my team, in the instructions it says after you write an ad, I want you to essentially teach them why you did each part of what you did. Then I want you to rate it out of 10 with further suggestions on how you can close the gap closer to a 10 out of 10 ad with the prompt to like what data or stories would need to be provided to get it up there. And just that process, just from like a training thing, just gets them thinking. So when they do their ads, it also makes them better at it. So
Hmm.
it's like I'm
I love
also
it.
using it to help train them.
So I like to apply that to psychology. So the idea would be is if you ran your emails from your clients to you through a GPT that was programmed to be a psychologist, you could see more of what they mean beyond what they
Yeah.
say. There's elements of this that would really help a lot of us like get more alignment with our clients. Now, we're going over time, so I'm going to close this down, but we're going to be around a few more minutes for the folks that are hanging around here. Thank you for being part of our regular audience. Um, we like it, and if you haven't been part of our regular audience, come on in. You can actually join the Zoom. You can make comments. You can get answers live, like Jennifer. Yes, it was Stephen. Uh, and then we can chat afterwards, just like we're going to go and do now. So thank you for joining us. This is the Leads Are Shit. He's Andrew. I'm Taylor, and we're out of here.
Show up live next time because I'm turning off the recording now and we're going to keep going.